Nestling beneath the North York moors is the village of Thornton Dale. And for over 30 years, it's been the home of the Mathewsons, a dynasty of dealers with a love of classics.
They just have a personality, there's just something about them.
In all shapes and sizes.
Well, it is the best job ever, really, isn't it?
A passion that can be turned into brass. They auction over 4,000 rare vehicles every year.
Start me on it, we're going to be with it.
Most people will go to a sale with something in mind, but come away with something different.
Some things either got it or it hasn't.
It's what they fall in love with on that day.
There's head of the family, Derek.
What a runner. Smooth as silk, this car.
Trusted lieutenants, sons Paul.
Working with your family, it has its ups and its downs.
God, blimey.
And Dave.
I bet you £1 it doesn't start.
The fun is the chase.
Morning, Mathewsons.
You just don't know what's on the end of the phone, what you're going to find when you open them doors.
Spot on. That's the find of the century. It's the real deal.
Just never really 2 days exactly the same.
This is a family's love affair with motors that have lived a life.
There's a story behind every car in this building.
Testing, testing.
Most people will buy a car because they can relate to it. Maybe a car that Dad had. We're selling dreams.
Right, here we go.
On sale this week.
The 1981 Lotus Esprit Turbo.
It's been restored to a higher standard than I think what it left the factory new.
I mean, it is a supercar, isn't it? It's in the same bracket as the Lamborghini, Ferrari, Aston Martin, you name it.
Lot number 71 is the MGA, the fixed head.
It's only a two-seater, but we've gone holiday in it. 2 toddlers and a newborn. You can't do things like that these days.
The Lancia Delta Integrale.
What was it like to drive it on the road?
Absolutely blistering. Once you've driven one, nothing's like it, really.
The Mathewson family sells rare classic vehicles and obscure auto memorabilia. But in a sense, they also offer a public service to some people who have a niggling itch to scratch.
Yes, I think that's about it. So what it boils down to, they want to buy something they can relate to. Generally speaking, it's something that father had or they've always wanted.
It's rose tint, isn't it? Rose tinted glasses. You always look back, don't you? And think, I've one of them, I'll have another one of them.
Yeah, I want my old A55 Cambridge back.
But the need for nostalgia sometimes passes, and the time eventually comes around to move on, to part company. And today, Dave will be counselling 2 people going through that difficult transition.
We're going to meet a collector. Patrick's got a lovely collection of cars. One's a Lotus Esprit Turbo, and he's got some lovely Italian bits and pieces. A Lancia Integrale, which is an unusual piece of kit.
The Lotus and the Lancia are on the dream list of many, the list of cars that you would like to own that you never will. But that doesn't stop you dreaming.
First and foremost, we're collectors and enthusiasts. So it'd be interesting to have a look around his collection of cars because, yeah, you're on the same page, aren't you? You know, you're both as weird as each other, aren't you? Straight away, boom, you're two fruit cases together, so what could possibly go wrong?
But before the main event of the day, there's another very special car being readied for collection. Steve O'Dowling from Ashford owns one of the very first Ford Escort XR3s ever to be made.
I've always been a bit of a Ford nut. My first car was a Mark III Cortina. My first Mark III XR3i I had when I was 20 years old, and I thought I was one of the lads having one of those at the time. I said, you know what, if I can get another one day, I will do. I came to getting the current car 13 years ago. I was mid-40s by then, and it was just going to bring me back to my youth. The thing about this car, the previous owner bought it when it was 18 months old. He had it for 25 and a half years. It's a real genuine car. It's had no restoration on it at all.
A few hours later, fellow fast Ford enthusiast Dave has arrived in Kent to load the car up.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
All right, mate. We're doing this bit.
Yeah, we're doing this bit. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, really good.
In the 13 years Steve's owned this car, he's done fewer than 1,000 miles in it.
It's as standard as the day it came. Even the battery tray's got no rust.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's had much at all in a way.
As far as I'm aware, Dave, it's had hardly anything done to it at all.
But its condition is not the only notable thing about this particular car. In 1980, a strange thing happened. On a stretch of the M4 in Wales that hadn't yet been opened, hundreds of brand new XR3s had been brought here to take part in a promotional stunt prior to the new car's launch. The one that Steve owns was amongst them, but hardly any of the others have survived to mark the event.
There's 3 of them on the road, registered on the road. There's a 100W and a 105W. They've both had nut and bolt restorations.
Making this XR3 the only one left that hasn't been messed with.
Yeah, it's nice. And where are we going to peg it money-wise then?
I've got no idea.
Are we going to sort of start at 20 and see where we go from there?
Yeah, see where we go from there. And we'll have, when we're near the time, we'll have we can have a talk, can't we? You will not get a more original one of these out now. There's only a few of them left. And you won't find a more original one than this car. It's a shame to see it go, but I've got a motorbike as well, and there's just no space. If I had a double garage, I would not be selling it one bit at all.
Dave heads north. He's clocking the miles up, but there's another real treat waiting for him. This special wedge of 80s is the Series 3 Lotus Esprit Turbo, the poster car for a generation of teenage bedroom walls.
When that car was new, it was just a dream in a magazine. And you turn your dreams into reality at some point in life.
Patrick McNally bought the Lotus 7 years ago. Every nut and bolt has been restored.
I think it's probably about as nice as you can get them.
Never meet your heroes?
In this case, you won't be disappointed. It's just as clean underneath as it is on the top.
Lotus founder Colin Chapman famously added lightness rather than horsepower to make faster cars. This Esprit gets to 60 in less than 5 seconds.
The engine's lovely and powerful. It's got a nice feature that I like. It's a turbocharged car on carburetors. And it's got a mechanical wastegate on it. So every time you come off the accelerator, you get the butterfly chatter that comes out of it.
But iconic as this car is, potential buyers might be a tad hesitant before they part with what could be upwards of 30 grand.
You don't actually enter it like a normal car. You literally climb into it and you climb out of it. It's a little bit cramped in there. But it was designed in a time when we as people, we weren't as wide as we are today.
The other thing that might put them off is its past reputation for not being very well bolted together.
For the first couple of months of ownership, I was waiting for problems or looking for problems, but nothing arose. There's probably people out there that have horror stories, but I can't attest to that, really. It's been restored to a higher standard than I think what it left the factory new.
I'll just park this out here out of the way.
Dave's arrived, full of 80s supercar prejudice.
So what do you know about Lotus then?
Apart from the usual, loads of trouble, usually serious. It's normally the cosmetic and trim stuff, whether it be a switch popping out the dash or a door card loose or a wobbly lamp. I'll be amazed if there's not something.
Before that, though, Patrick has 2 other cars he wants to put into the auction. The first is an Alfa Romeo 2000 Spider from 1972.
Yeah,
Yeah, this was a very good restoration. I think from the photos I got photos on this as a bare shell. This was again a nut and bolt car at the time. This was restored, I believe, 96.
Oh, right, OK.
So
I'm going back a bit then.
Yeah, so this underneath is powder coated as well.
Right.
The second, a Lancia Delta Integrale from 1991. Looks like a normal hatchback, but to those in the know, it holds an almost godlike status.
They're iconic, aren't they, really, to be fair? They're in the bracket of the Audi Quattros, aren't they, and the Escort Cosworth and all that type of thing, you know, they're sort of superstar status, haven't they, really, to be fair?
This is a Japanese car.
Oh,
so
right,
it's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
It's all mint underneath, like the day it left the factory.
Looks quite a level thing, that, Patrick. You can get the gist of it straight away, can't you?
The Lancia Delta was a small family runabout launched in 1979. But it formed the basis for the most successful rally car ever, winning 46 times in 6 seasons, including 6 consecutive Constructors' Championships. Road-going versions started with the HF four-wheel drive, then the legendary 8 and 16-valve Integrales. Garrett T3 Turbo, trick differentials and steering to die for made it drive like nothing else on the road. Lancia launched the Evo versions in '91 with more power and a wider wheelbase. Mint ones now fetch up to 80 grand. Back with the Lotus, and Dave's playing spot which parts bin the components come from.
Yeah, Rover, rear lamps, door handles are Marina, aren't they? But I don't know what mirrors would have been off.
Some say black London cab. Front lamps look like BMW E30s.
They do a bit, don't they? Yeah. Hell of a car, aren't they, really? They do look like they're doing 100 mile an hour, just stood there, don't they? Yeah, it's a funny looking thing, that. I mean, it is a supercar, isn't it? You know, it's in the same bracket as a Lamborghini, Ferrari, Aston Martin, you know, you name it. You know, it's up there, isn't it?
The Spider and the Integrale will follow later. The Lotus, expected to get a good price at auction.
Patrick would like to see 30 achieved, 30k. Yep. I think because of the condition of it, I think it could do it. Spot on. Yep. Yeah, there, that's it. Yeah, we'll leave it there because it's got that fair bit of weight at the back, isn't it?
It's been a lot of fun. Now it's time to move it on and let somebody else fulfill a dream with it. I'd probably feel bad about it in the morning, but it's going to a better place. Whoever buys it will get a one-off.
With Dave out collecting supercars, it's been left to Derek to head for the Yorkshire Dales to pick up a slightly more civilised pair of classics. They're currently tucked up in Michael Green's old stone barn.
This is the A30. And that's the A. I've not used them for 20 years.
The Austin is from 1954. The MGA from 1961 is one of the last to be made.
They probably didn't make more than a dozen after that. Yeah, it had a complete body-off restoration, but it wants a loving, careful owner again to bring it back to life. It won't take an awful lot.
These two cars represent an era of carefree motoring in every sense of the word.
Before it was rebuilt, we used to go on holiday in it because there were 2 toddlers and a newborn. It's really only a 2-seater, but in those days you could put your children on the parcel shelf and go away with it, but you can't do things like that these days. No seat belts, you see. The restoration of it was done in the early 90s, all shot blasted. It came out the factory this colour, so we just made it back to what it was.
Derek's arrived, just in time to buy a chair off Michael's wife, Pauline. There are other distractions too.
Most important thing of all is a cup of tea and a chocolate biscuit. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, go on then.
John,
lovely.
egg custard or apple pies I've made.
Oh, apple pie would be nice. Right.
Do you want sugar in it, too?
Yeah, just one, love, please. What have I got to give you?
Well, it's her.
Don't want to be loads of money, does it?
No, no.
Aye, well, you got no worry about tide coming in, have you?
No, no.
That's for sure. Little A30, nice. Yeah, I like little A30s. They're lovely, aren't they?
Goes well.
They got a bit of character, haven't they, about
Yeah.
them? Should we have her out?
I'll go forward.
Yeah, you go up there. She won't get away with us, will she? No, she'll
Well,
stay there, won't she?
tell me when.
Right, give her a rock. This time. There she goes.
And again.
There she goes. You all right there?
Right, she's off.
She's away.
Well done.
There she goes. Yeah, lovely. Very original, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've done a lot of miles, has it?
50.
Yeah.
With the car in the right gear, winding the starting handle is a slow but effective way of positioning it.
Right, genuine little thing.
This is speed I like to go.
There's always someone for a nice little A30, A35. They just want a bit of love, don't they?
Yeah, that's all.
Someone to love them.
Yeah.
She's going to make a car, that is.
Yeah.
Now for the MGA.
I think we're all right down that side.
We're all right, mate. There you go. One more. How's that? I just hope these brakes ain't stuck.
Oh, they probably are.
Oh, they are. Nah, they're well stuck, mate.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
We'll give it, hang on, we'll give it a little rock and see if we can free it. If we can't, oh my God. No, she's well stuck on.
The only answer? Remove the wheels. Deploy the precision tool. And get Phil the cameraman to tow it out with his big Audi.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Yeah, keep going, mate. What's that near that offside? You all right there? That'll do. Super. You got it?
Yeah, it wedged into one at leaves, I think.
Ah, little minx. She's on.
The A30 will have a guide price of around £1,500 at the auction. The MGA, more like 15,000.
Lovely.
So I might have some money for Christmas.
You'll have a lot of money for
Well, he
Christmas.
won't spend it on me because he doesn't give me a Christmas present.
Good to see you.
Right, thanks, Derek. Thank you. Oh, bye-bye, MG. What a nice car.
Shall we buy
Shall we
it?
buy one and put it in garage for 10 years? That'd be a good idea.
Back in Pickering, the 81 Lotus Esprit Turbo has arrived. Most would agree it's a bit of a legend. But few will have seen one this good.
It's been done to a real high standard, and everywhere, you know, inside's presented lovely, all the trim's nice, all the switches are working, and it's an absolute picture underneath. In fact, it's one of those cars that if you could literally pick them up and twizzle them upside down, they would actually sell better, because the undersides are just exceptional.
The Esprit was designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro, one of the first examples of his folding paper philosophy. When it first appeared, the young David Mathewson was impressed.
So I would have been 10. They are sort of bedroom wall car, aren't they, really, in that supercar bracket. But if that had a Ferrari badge on it, you'd probably put a 1 in front. It'd probably be 130,000, not 30,000. So good value for money, really. Lot number 391, the 1981 Lotus Esprit Turbo. It's had a massive restoration to a very, very high standard. So we've got
30.
30, there you go, Rob. Good man, that's where it's got to be anyway. 30, 30 says Rob. 30,500 says Charlie. You want 31, Alan? 31. Too late, it's gone. 31's gone.
32.
32 says Rob. 32.5 says Charlie. 33 says Alan at 33.
35.
35 says Rob. There you are. That's a bid for you. 36 says Alan.
38.
36.
38.
38. What a man. £38,000. There you are. 39 down here. New bid. 39. 39,000.
40.
40 says Rob there. 40. Look, you don't mess about. 40. 40,500 says Claire.
41.
41 says Rob. 41. 41.5 Claire. 42 Rob. 42. 42.5.
43.
43 says Rob at 43. At 43,000. 43,500 says Claire at 43,500. 44? 44. At £44,000 for the 44.5. 45.
47.
47. There you are, 47. 47.5, Rob.
48.
48, has he? 48. 48, he's come back in at 48. I thought you'd got that at 48 now. It's Rob's man at £48,000. We're going to have to bring it in at £48,000 for the first, for the second, third and last time at 48,000.
There you go, sir. £48,000.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Thank you.
£18,000 above reserve. Proof, as if it were needed, that this is probably one of the best Lotus Esprits in the country.
48,000, yeah. That's just some bid, that, innit, you know. Most of them come with a horror story, but it's just a real nice, clean, bright-looking Lotus, yeah. But same old thing, good cars, nice examples of the right model, do really well, don't they?
The last few days at the garage has been like petrolhead paradise, with desirable classics filling the showrooms. Not least, Patrick McNally's immaculate Lotus Esprit. But two more cars have now arrived from his stable. First up, the beautiful Alfa Spider from 1972.
Yeah, lovely little car. Italian styling. Yeah, lovely sleek looks and some cracking colours. Twin cam, twin carburetors. They sound lovely, you know, they're lively and they're fast and they're light, easy to drive. It would be an easy pitch, I would think, to sell these, certainly if you had the climate there. Yeah, I mean, most of these cars over there would never have had their roof up, would they? They would have been down from day one, really. No, the owner is very particular with what he's put in the collection over the years, but he reliably informs me that they're quite expensive now. 30,000 or thereabouts, I think, is like a target.
And the joy continues with the second arrival. Another Italian classic, but this time a 1991 Lancia. Well documented as a car that can literally make grown men weep. Visitor Mark Seaton has been transported back to his 20s.
Very special, an Integrale 16 valve, which I have to be fair, I had one many years ago.
You've got a tear in your eye.
No, I've got more than a tear in my eye.
So to see one in the flesh today, what memories does that bring back?
This is absolutely immaculate. This is cleaner than the one I had.
What was it like to drive it on the road?
Absolutely blistering. So fast, so fast. But honestly, as we pulled up and I saw that park there, I'm definitely going to be putting a bid in for this.
But is this one as good as it looks? Lancia Motor Club member Richard Burhouse has been invited to the garage to check it out. It's a good opportunity to show off his Evo 2.
I was 15, 16, 17 when these were winning all the rallies on the World Rally Championships, and I just sort of fell in love with them, really. To people who don't know what it is, they don't give it a second glance, but to people who know, you know, they're like heads turn, people clap because of what it represented in people's childhoods, I think. Once you've driven one, nothing's like it, really. I think it's the cornering. You feel like you sat on the front axle. It's the feel of being connected to the road and the way they put you in control, really.
Lancia were not known for their good build quality or weather-resistant steel. In many ways, it's a miracle this car's here at all.
First impressions, Richard?
Very nice, yeah. The bodywork is the big telltale. If it's been looked after, it should be relatively rust-free and corrosion-free. You're looking for signs that it's been in an accident, you know, but it looks pretty straight, really.
Lancia did, however, stand out from the crowd when it came to design and performance. Their PR was unusual too.
The HF?
Yes, HF stands for High Fidelity, and that was their performance division within Lancia, who would configure them with power upgrades and various performance upgrades.
And they configured it with an elephant?
Yeah, the story around that, I believe, is to promote it. Someone suggested an elephant, and they said, well, our elephant's slow. And they said, yeah, but once they get running, they're very difficult to stop. It kind of makes sense. I think maybe a rhino or something could have been better, but there you go.
This Integrale only has 50,000 miles on the clock, well below average for the year.
I'm not going to start messing around inside the engine, but everything looks right. It's got the nice pepper pot alloys that were on the 16 valve. They're usually Alcantara, and obviously when they are, the bolsters and everything get really damaged, you know, but the leathers seems to have aged a lot better, you know. It looks good. Yeah, someone's going to have a lot of fun with that, I would have thought.
In the showroom, Lucy and Rachel have started to try and revive a bit of the business that took a hit during lockdown.
We're attempting to sort out memorabilia. Picking a few select items.
Derek's asked for the top 100 items to be brought out, so he's sent in the experts.
As you can see, we've got a lot to do.
There's loads here. There's absolutely loads. It's like a right treasure trove in here.
And of course you know where all of it is.
Yeah. We've got it all catalogued in order.
What do people go mad for then?
Signs.
That's quite nice.
Like these, look, because the man caves are all popular, aren't they now?
That'd look nice in your garden. Yeah, I quite like that.
Smoking mixture. 4D per ounce? What's 4D?
Pence.
Pence?
Old money.
Oh.
It's a fiddly job.
I can't reach.
With many unanswered questions.
Are they for trading?
How does a Chubba Chub dispensing machine fit into automobilia?
They're enjoying themselves.
Oh, the girls love it.
Yeah, you're trying to keep Lucy away from it. It's just... That's why I put the fence up, to be fair. That fence there, that's a Lucy fence. That stops... Because she'd come down on a day off if I let her, and she would just spend hours down here. Oh yeah, they thoroughly enjoy it.
Elsewhere in the Great Hall at Pickering, Derek's having a look over one of his favourite cars, the MGA from 1961, recently dragged out of a Yorkshire barn.
Whatever you see on it now was done 20 years ago. There's a few little bits and pieces come through, but it ain't done so bad. And the beauty of it, it's a coupe. They're becoming very sought after, the coupes. They're catching up and sometimes overtaking the roadsters in price. And these have been too cheap for a long time, until about probably 5 years ago. All of a sudden they started creeping up. I mean, you can pay 25 grand for one of these now. You know, not this you won't, but you can pay 25 grand for one. I think it'll do 12 grand. I've got a roadster. I remember buying it, and I thought I'd just drive it up to the roundabout on Kempston Road in Bedford. And I come back and I said to the lads in the workshop, them MGAs, if they all drive like this car of mine, they're the best driving 1960s sports car on the road. The power-to-weight ratio, the handling is second to none. Lovely, lovely car. Lot number 71 is the MGA, the fixed head. Where we're going to be, couple of bids on with me. We're 10, we're off, 10, 5, 11, 11, 11,000, 11,000, 5, 11,000, 5, 11, 5 up there, 12, 12,000, 12, 5, 12,500. Going to submit it, 13, 13. You cannot buy fixed heads, 13, 14, 14,000 upstairs, 14. I'm selling it. Are you sure you're missing one? 14,000.
Jordan, sold, 14.
£2 grand more than Derek predicted. The sale goes through at 14,000. The car that sat next to it for 20 years will also, hopefully, be finding a new home today. The Austin A30 from 1954.
This is definitely a better car for knowing. We've left it like this. It's exactly how it was in the shed, but look at that interior. She's lovely. She's a really genuine little A30, this. A very honest little car. That, I bet, will run lovely, that motor. It was their family car for many, many years, and he said they've been all over the country in it, like Cornwall and Devon and everywhere from Yorkshire. And look at that, look how nice that'll clean up with the good going on. Look. Just finish the rest of it off, check it over, get it mobile, give it a bit of a service over, and run it. And still got semaphores, look, on here. Still got the semaphores on it. Look. Mileage is correct on this car, definitely. Look at that, 50,000 miles. That is correct, you know I know it's correct, because the interior wouldn't look like that. The carpets look original to me, and it smells right. That is an A30 smell. Perfect. I know that motor's right. I know that mileage is right. That would be absolutely 100% correct. Probably going to make 1,500 quid.
The little A30, 1954, cracking little car, make a little stunner. Where are we going to be with that? 1,000. £1,000 and going, 1,000, 1,100, 12. £1,200, £1,200 the way, 13, 13, £1,300 up there, 13 and away and going, 13, 13, 50, 1350, 1350, come on, 14, 14, £1,400, selling. You got it. 1,400 sold.
Just under the guide price, but the sale goes through. The new owners, Arnie Price and his wife Jean from Lincolnshire.
I've had older cars for a long while, and for 15 years roughly I've been without one, and I've been looking for something small. So I just thought this one's one of the soundest I've seen. It's original, that's what I've been looking for, it's not been ruined. Yeah, I love it.
It comes complete with its mid-century documentation.
That's owner's club membership, that's just a photocopy of it. And this is the original registration book from 1955. And there you'll see the first stamp when it was taxed, which was £6.11 for a year. So this actually might enable me to get the original registration number back on it. I don't know whether it adds any value to the car, but for me it's just nice that the whole car's complete, if you see what I mean. So we'll get it home, get it working, make it go a bit better to keep up with modern traffic and so on, so we'll see how we go. I'll let you know in 2 or 3 years' time.
Dave spent the last few days with some exclusive and exotic modern classics. But now it's the turn of an 80s sports car for the masses. A fast Ford that's gone down in motoring history.
Early XR3. Yeah, not an I, an XR3, which is unusual. Yeah, nice car. You've just got to get your head around the fact that these things just rotted away for fun. You know, so when you find one that hasn't rotted away, that still is really good in all the important places, it's quite an achievement. It's really good. I don't actually think you're going to get much of a better interior on an XR3, to be honest. It's up there in the top 5%, I would think.
The XR3 is about as powerful as any standard hatchback today, but that's not quite the full story.
Still good fun and still quite lively. 100 horsepower in that feels considerably more than 100 horsepower in your, Ford Focus. You somehow, I think, get the sensation of speed through into the cabin, with these things, 70 mile an hour, and you feel like you were really hanging on type of thing, so that's probably what it is.
Now this is a very special car, Ford Escort 1980 XR3. Okay, so at the moment then we're with the internet there at 15,000.
15.5.
15.5 on the phone, 16,000 on the internet, 16,517. at 17,000.
17 and a half.
17 and a half, says Rob's phone at 17.5. 18 says the internet. £18,000. 18,250 on our phones at 18,250. 18.5 on the internet. At 18,500, get you an answer as quickly as we can. 18.5 provisional.
The highest bidder, Gareth Jones. No need for a trailer. He's just sent mates Chris and Paul to drive it back to Loughborough.
First impressions of the car?
Beautiful.
You are driving an absolute classic piece of Ford XR3 history there.
I know.
Pressure's on.
I know. Bend it, you mend it.
The XR3 comes loaded with a full kit of nostalgia.
Smell that. Should bottle that up and sell it. 80s musk.
What's it like being back in the 80s?
I'd say it was a simpler life back in the 80s, probably better.
Can I just check? Have you passed your test? Are we all right?
I drive an electric car which is automatic.
And how far have you got to go in this?
About 125 miles.
Two other cars that recently caused a bit of a stir were the 1981 Lotus Esprit Turbo and the 1961 MGA. They've now both been rehomed in the northeast, joining an exclusive collection owned by Dougie Hennels and his son Craig. These classics will be earning their keep.
We're trying to make a business, trying to launch it next year. Classic and sports car hire. If we end up with, say, 30 or 40 cars and one's not hiring out, we'll get rid of it and replace it with something that does hire out, you know what I mean?
Being in partnership with your dad, has that got its fun moments?
It's probably fun as much as arguments, but I suppose at least with family you always make back up.
Which brings us to the MGA, a car chosen by Craig.
It looks alright, I mean, but not the best of things, are they? Are they? you wouldn't want to go on a 200-mile round trip in it, would you?
I think he prefers a little bit more comfort and drivability. I think the MGA is quite, driving by the bare knuckles, it's quite noisy and a bit uncomfortable. But I think that's what you want from a British sports car from the 60s.
For some of the others, it's fairly easy to see who favours what.
1936 Morgan three-wheeler.
You like three wheels as opposed to four, do you?
No. 1986 Morgan 4x4. Yeah, I like this one.
Do you?
Yeah, I like this one.
TVR Tamora. I think I bought this when I was 17 or 18. And then a Ferrari 308.
It's passable. Passable.
There's also an XK150 Jag.
And it's got an upgraded 5-speed box in it. I think it'll be a good touring car.
That's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right,
Right,
yes.
OK.
But there is one car that they both, sort of, agree on.
I like it. And believe it or not, of all the cars, that gets talked about more than anything.
I've got a few modern cars that are brilliant to drive, but the Esprit is a different thing altogether. You need to get it quite high revving before the boost kicks in. But the brilliant sound of the turbo whistling and then the after noise of it burbling away once you come off the revs, it's something that's lost in a modern day car.
In other news, after all the excitement surrounding the 91 Lancia Delta Integrale HF Turbo...
Honestly, I'm definitely going to be putting a bid in for this.
Its day at the auction finally came around.
The amount of interest that it's generated already, it is a bit of a magnet.
Speculation was rife. It had a reasonable reserve price, and figures of 30 grand plus had been bandied around.
This is a special vehicle, this one, as we can quite clearly see. Start me with it. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21.5, 22. Not too many of these Integrales coming along. 22.5, 23, 23.5. Cannot go wrong, can you? 23.5, money in the bank. 23.5, better than money in the bank. You can drive it and look at it. 23,500, 23.5. Gonna sell it. Sold, 23.5.
It's a lot of money, But in this world, that is one of the bargains of the year.
Cracking car. It should have made more money, to be fair. Don't know why it didn't. It should have done. We gave it loads of exposure. We had the club round. But there you go. You win some, you lose some, I suppose.
The Integrale continues its world tour with a new home in Europe. But for those still in the mood for something Italian, all was not lost. With a similar reserve price, one of the most stylish cars from the last 50 years, the 72 Alfa Romeo 2000 Spider, also had its day at the auction.
At 16,500, 16,500, at 16,500, at 16,500 and 750. The provisional bid will be submitted at 16,750.
After a bit of negotiation, Peter Stratton from Lincolnshire agreed to pay 20 grand. With reliability and build quality weighing heavily on the minds of many Alfa owners, Peter is well qualified for the job.
I'm a mechanical engineer, initially at Rolls-Royce. I'm an avid DIYer. I like repairing things as well. I've had a couple of Alfa Romeos in the past. I know they are pretty fickle with bodywork, but looking around this one, somebody's done a really good job on it. I've always loved them, and I've always thought how nice they actually look. The proportions seem beautiful.
But much as he admires the car, left to his own devices, Peter would probably never have owned it, had it not been for his son Chris.
He was definitely pushed into it, yeah. I'd had to put one hand behind his back and twist him into it a little bit, yeah. I actually put a bid in at about 16 and a half. Then I bottled it after that, but the bid came straight back in, and I thought, I can't do it, it's not my car. But I was thinking if he didn't want it, I'd have the car, because it was, you know, it was that good.
The plan worked. Peter parted with the cash.
Have you had a chance to drive it yet?
I've not even been in it yet. So I've done all the hard work, and I've still not had a drive in it. So.
But today, a step closer.
It's waiting for you to put your foot down. And it takes you back, you know, to when I first had cars. You know, they're not comfortable, but you're in touch with the road.
Seems like it's pulling really well there.
It drives really nicely. You feel as though you're one with the car.
My dad's always done things for us, constantly helping us with DIY and stuff like that. So the reason I was really working on it was I wanted him to do something for himself, something that, you know, he could enjoy, that he could really take pleasure in.
I'm proud to own this car. I never thought I'd have one. I'm pleased as punch. I guess I've never spent that much money on myself, other than buying houses. No, it's just a lovely feeling to think that you've got something that is so nice. I'm just elated.